Hey there, BookTube. Noah. Welcome back to my channel. Everyone who reads it must converse. We're going to go through the two final books of Frank Herbert's Dune series. That is Heretics of Dune and Chapterhouse Dune. So I'm gonna have a bit to say, sure, but what this series is really for is to inspire you to read it. So I'm not trying to give away big plot points, even though I will be talking about what happened in an overall fashion, just in a way of inspiration. Um, but I'm not trying to, get just give. I'm not giving a review, and I'm not giving a big synopsis or something like that. This is just for inspirational purposes. Why should you read, beyond the first book or the first couple books or stuff like that? Frank Herbert's Dune series has been done. It's about to be rebooted in December of 2020. So there's more than enough time for you to read the Dune series. You could read the whole series between now and then. But Frank Herbert's original six is the core, and nobody's ever made a movie or a series or anything beyond the third book. The third book is Children of Dune. So there's been Dune, Dune Messiah, and Children of Dune. All three have been done by the Sci-Fi Channel back in the day, and that's a great little series. James McAvoy plays Leto the second, Paul's son, and as you can see if you saw the second installment of my Dune series here, that Paul's son becomes a more badass, Kwisatz Haderach than Paul ever was. He becomes a monster, for lack of a better word, and he becomes a god, for lack of a better word. He lives for thousands of years in God Emperor of Dune. He lives for thousands of years, and he controls the entire universe, the entire human race. He rules from Arrakis. So at the end of God Emperor, at the end of the book, we see the uh, the fall of the God Emperor. He he is a man worm human god type thing. Not no longer human, but not quite unhuman. Fighting to keep a shred of humanity, maybe. And when he dies on Arrakis, which is Dune, when he dies, his body, the giant sandworm that he has become, breaks into all the little sand trout. And they start terraforming Dune back to a desert planet. So, in between God Emperor of Dune and Heretics of Dune, we have 1,500 years. 1,500 years pass between God Emperor of Dune and the beginning of this book. And what has happened? Well, the human race uh, now has been set free after multiple thousands of years of being locked down and under the rule of a tyrant they label Leto the Second, and he very much was. Dune is now a desert planet again. The sandworms that are on Dune are evolved. They have become something more. They all have a shred of the God Emperor in them. Now, there is beings that you meet before now, but I haven't said much about them. But in this book they play a little more prominent role because the Tlaxu have a technology, a biological technology called face dancers. Now these are beings who are born kind of like a blank slate, and they can imprint someone or be imprinted by someone, and they take their look and they take their memories and their personality and everything, and they become essentially a clone of that person. They're programmed to do that with people, and they are basically, you know, the most high level spies that you can think of. But in the Dune series so far, the face dancers are not perfect. They're imperfect. All the elites are not worried about the face dancers. They can easily be called out and seen as a fake, as a spy or whatever it may be. Now, on the individual worlds, in their governments, the low-level governments, not these elite families that are ruling, but on those individual planets, you know, there's probably face dancers, you know, running amok and doing the Tlaxu is you know, gaining control over certain things that they want or something through these tactics. But you know, it's low level compared to where we're at as far as the Dune series is concerned. But in this book here, the face dancers have evolved. The face dancers are a lot more perfect now, and there starts to be this really big threat and scare that we don't know who's a face dancer and who's not. Certain aspects of the human race have evolved in this book here. After the destruction of Leto, the God Emperor, the human beings scatter. They go out into the unknown universe farther than we've ever been. They go on exploratory missions. They just go. We've been locked down for thousands of years, and now we're free, you know, and they do that. There is another Gola of Duncan, Idaho made, and a Gola made by the Tlaxu, who are you know, not trusted at all in any of the Dune series. They're these kind of that kind of race where, you know, they're just not trusted. They make a Gola of Duncan, Idaho for the Bene Gesserits, and we meet a new character. His name's Miles Tegg. Miles Tegg is a general for the Bene Gesserits. That is very, very advanced being. He's an Atreides by heritage, ancestry. He's of the Atreides line, and he looks like Leto, Paul's father. So they get a Duncan, Idaho Gola from the Tlaxu. And you know, there's always the scare that these Golas might be programmed to act in a certain way, to do a certain thing that the Tlaxu want them to do. So there's always that, you know, that they got to be wary of. And Miles Tegg is brought in to break open this Gola. And by break open, if you don't know what I mean to unlock that Gola's previous memory. A Gola is a clone, is raised to be a clone, and now it is a clone of that person, and but it has all its own memories, just as if, you know, maybe we'd make a clone today. You know, you clone a sheep or something. Well, that sheep, you know, might have all the genetic characteristics of the sheep that was cloned, but in that sheep's mind, you would say, you know, that sheep is an individual, right? You know, like if we cloned a human being, that human being would still have its own mind, its own experiences of its life and things like that. It wouldn't be that other person. Well, there is a method to wake up the previous life of a Gola. And so they want to wake up Duncan, Idaho's memory of his life stream, which will wake him up unto the point of his death. He'll remember everything, even to the point of his death, previous death, and he'll be, you know, Duncan, Idaho. He'll be the Duncan, Idaho. Now, if you remember in God Emperor of Dune, God Emperor Leto II was making Duncan Idahos over and over and over and over. He had some plan, and we don't know, but he was making Duncan Idahos, or getting the Tlaxu to make him Duncan Idaho Golas over and over and over, and using them for his own reasons. So this Duncan Idaho Gola in this one, Miles Tegg wakes him up, and when Duncan Idaho this Gola wakes up, he has the memory of all the previous Duncan Idaho Golas. So he has the memory of hundreds of his own lifetimes throughout thousands and thousands of years. And he becomes a complete badass. And he's not a Kwisatz Haderach. He doesn't remember his ancestral memory, but he has so many lifetimes that he has lived that he can remember that it's an amazing thing. So Duncan Idaho is now a force to be reckoned with. That Duncan Idaho is an amazing Duncan Idaho, and he's there. Now everybody wants a piece of Duncan Idaho. Everybody wants that Gola, because he has a lot to do. The Tlaxu want him. They want him for some of their own reasons, and whatever. Miles Tegg. Miles Tegg is a warrior. Miles Tegg is an amazing character. Now, at some point in this, just to illustrate how things work in the Dune series, there is a group of Bene Gesserits that had gone out during the scattering, and they evolved, and then they came back to the old empire, what they see as the old empire, which is everything that we've been come in contact with so far in the Dune series. And they're actually coming back, and they're waging war, and they want to take over the Bene Gesserits, because they are Bene Gesserits, but they are evolved Bene Gesserits, and they've actually become kind of a bastardized version of the Bene Gesserits, if I can say that. Now, they are completely ruthless and higher evolved. The Bene Gesserits don't stand a chance in face-to-face combat with these women. The Honored Matres is their names, and they come in and they can do what the Bene Gesserits do. They can share. They can break open their ancestral memories. They can share all their memories between each other. They have Honored Matres, Reverend Mothers, and they're just amazing. And they rule by sex. They rule their planets. They rule their population by sex. The women run everything, and they rule their men. Now, that's the main theme going on in this book, that the Honored Matres are coming, and they're around, and they're taking over planets and all this kind of thing. Now, Tegg has the Duncan Idaho Gola, and he has them on Arrakis. Now, they are coming to get him, to kind of take him over. And Tegg gets captured, and they put him under a torture device. And as he's sitting there in a torture device, and this is how things work with Frank Herbert. This is one of the things that makes the Dune series so great, is because through being in that torture device, Miles Tegg evolves. He evolves in a very specific way, in a very unique way. He opens his eyes during the torture, and everything is moving so slowly that he's just like watching the blinks, and he's watching the movements, and he decides to get up and move. And when he does it, he just gets up and takes the people out. It is so fast that they don't even know what has happened. He has the ability to move through time at an incredible rate. Now, he can only do it for short bursts of time. It really, really has a toll on his physical body. But he can do it at will. He can do that at will from here on out. And he becomes a higher evolved human being. It's an amazing thing. he actually can see and sense no ships and stuff like that. So one of the things that Leto, the God Emperor, was actually doing is that he developed a being that he could not see in his prescient vision. Leto could see everything. He could see everyone. He could see everything that was being planned. Everything. So he created somebody, and you meet her in God Emperor of Dune, an Atreides, that he could not see. Well, in Heretics, 1500 years later, the human race has prescient technology. There is technologies out there now that allow the human beings to see where people are at, what people are doing, futures, possible futures of things. But now, what Leto has done, the God Emperor has done, has created a whole section of humanity and shown a way that the prescients could not see. So there's ships out there called no ships and no rooms and people that are of that character too, that the prescient technology cannot see. But Teg can see it. So he t- takes a no ship over with the Duncan Idaho Gola and some of the Bene Gesserit or Honored Matres. I know now what happens is the Honored Matres come and one of them, one of the highest level Honored Matres, tries to subvert Duncan Idaho, and Duncan Idaho has been used as a stud for uh, for the God Emperor over hundreds of lifetimes. And the Honored Matres sexual imprinting and control do not work on him. He actually can withstand it, and not just withstand it, but do his own level of that kind of practice. So they get free, and what Teg does then is takes a no ship with an army to Dune and firebombs the entire planet and destroys Dune, destroys Arrakis, destroys everything. Not before part of the he works for the Bene Gesserits. Teg is in the employ of the Bene Gesserits first and foremost. So he takes out Dune and firebombs Dune not before the Bene Gesserits grab some sandworms and take them to their home planet, their hidden planet that is just the Bene Gesserits, and they take these sandworms to Chapterhouse, and they let them out on Chapterhouse, and they start terraforming Chapterhouse into a new Dune. And that's where we start this book. This book is all about the Chapterhouse is now the new Dune. The Bene Gesserits have complete control over the spice, over over a lot of things because of that. Miles Teg is dead. He dies at the end of in the firebombing of Dune, and in this, the Honored Matres are coming right up against the Bene Gesserits, and it turns out that they're not just trying to take over, the what they see as the old empire. They're not there just to take over and just to have control or something. They're actually running. They're actually running from an enemy. They're actually running from an enemy that is so great and so scary that the Honored Matres have no way to fight it. It's an amazing thing. And with that, I want to say that, the final book here, ends on a cliffhanger. and it's an amazing thing, uh, an amazing work. All the first Frank Herberts are of the highest level of sci-fi. But how horrible it must have been for readers to lose Frank Herbert after the sixth book. So I'm a proponent. I'm a proponent of the uh, at least the part that Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson have written to finish off the story. And I'm going to get into that in a little bit. We'll go on through that, but that completes Frank Herbert's original six. And there's so much that has just been glossed over and not told that I hope that it served to inspire you. What's on the cover here? That's one of the no ships. It's just this huge, like a Death Star size thing that is just this huge ship that can hold, a whole country, full of people. They have, no ships with sandworms on them, with a desert inside, with sandworms living in there, or something like that. So I hope this has inspired y'all to grab a hold and read Frank Herbert's first six. They're amazing. The level of writing is off the charts for sci-fi. It's great. So thank you, and comment. Let me know if you've read them, if you haven't read them, and you're inspired to now, something like that. Any questions, any kind of thing, we can get into it. I hope you enjoyed this book too. Catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.